What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Coach Vic, certified land investor here with you. Glad to be here with you on this nice September day. Today, as if you can, I can't see the title, we're going to talk about some missed opportunities a lot of land investors miss. This is especially true with a lot of newer land investors, but this can be true for anybody. It's very easy for us to get blinded and sidetracked by the things that we understand easily, or the things that's worked for us in the past, or just seeing things in a certain way that maybe if we were, kind of told or, maybe led to understand certain how different things can work for us, we will see opportunities. But when we're used to seeing things just one way, it's very easy to miss other opportunities. So that's what I want to talk about and where it all begins. So as always, if you can see me, you can hear me, just make sure. My computer's been getting really slow for some reason. I have no idea why. So if you're noticing any stuttering or any like robotic voices or anything like that, let me know so I can figure out what's going on. But I'm going to assume everything sounds great. I'm going to assume my video feed is clear, and I'm going to jump into it. So before I get into the actual meat and potatoes, let me give you guys a story. So think about some of the basketball players I mentor, not just the young kids I coach in my basketball program, but younger players that I actually play with on a regular basis. Some of these guys are in junior college, some are playing at four-year schools, some are out of that college age, but they're still very young players. I've noticed a lot of interesting things. Now, if you don't know, right now, three-point shooting is like a really big deal in the basketball world. Personally, while I can understand the value of a three-point shot, especially if you're good at shooting from long range, a lot of people are bypassing easier and more plentiful shots looking at the three because it's been glamorized. It's more, 3 points are worth more than two. You have players like Steph Curry, who is my favorite player currently. He makes a shot look so easy. Every now and then you insert an NBA player's name, they may get hot from three and all the buzz they get. Hell, not everybody can dunk a basketball. So the three-pointer is like it came to that point where it's like, oh, okay, it's got that type of notoriety and that type of respect that only dunking used to provide back in the day. So I can understand why people are so enamored with the three. But here's the thing. When I'm playing with these younger players, and it's just dribble, 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 shoot, dribble, 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 shoot, right? Not a lot of passing, not a lot of people moving, kind of everybody, even though it's a 5-on-5 game, everybody's watching a one-on-one situation. If that person couldn't score on their defender, they pass it to have someone else try to go one-on-one their defender. Not a lot of teamwork. As you can tell, this way of playing is stupid and it's boring and it's very ineffective. But younger players, that's what they're used to doing right now. So one time, I was talking to one of the players that, commits this type of offense the most, right? And I was asking him, like, what do you do for your shooting practice? And what he told me really underwhelmed me. Didn't really take his shooting that seriously. He would shoot around every now and then. And when I mean shoot around, it was casual. Yeah, he might shoot some shots and maybe he'll work on a mover here or there, but it was no real work that was put into it. There was no real effort to actually monitor his progress, track his progress, see if he's improving or not. And no real self-evaluation to see, hey, am I even doing this right? So to say I was underwhelmed was a bit of an understatement. And I'm just like, okay, well, I see that this is a very casual thing for you. And okay, that's fine. You don't have to be hardcore. However, you're trying to do things that only a hardcore player should be able to do. And if you look at your actual shooting percentages, you're not very effective. You might have shot 10 shots from behind the arc. You made one or two. You're shooting 10 or 20% a game. And in a short pickup game, it's not like we have a ton of time to actually make up for your bad shots. Shooting that 10 shots in such a manner is not going to help us win. In fact, it's helping the other team win. And, a little side note, it's often where I actually, egg on the other players to shoot those threes because I know they can't make them, but they think they can anyways. Now, now we start to get an argument because of this. And I'm like, listen, man, you're trying to shoot Steph Curry shots, but you don't put in Steph Curry work. And that kind of stopped him for a bit. And then he tried to get on his point. He tried to defend, try to always want to be right. No, it's not about listening. It's about being right. And at the end of the day, he is who he is, as in he's never going to get any better. If his dream is to play at a higher level, it'll never happen. And he'll rather be wrong, or excuse me, right and sitting the bench, or right and getting cut from the team, or right and not playing at all, than to understand the point of the bigger picture and actually work on his skills, actually understand like, yeah, I need to have a little bit more moderation and, you know, use the 3-point shot effectively, et cetera, et cetera. Why am I bringing that up? Well, the same thing happens in land investing. A lot of people get enamored by certain big deals, or they don't want to do certain parts of the work, or they hear about people getting VAs and they're using all this different types of software out there. And, you know, all these things can be great. All these things can be very effective for the land investor. However, if you don't have your fundamentals down, if you don't understand when the best time to use certain tools versus doing it yourself, when the time you should actually hire somebody out versus just being more efficient with what you do, when you should actually just learn the craft versus outsourcing it, you're not going to get anywhere, right? You're doing work of a multimillionaire land investor, but you don't have the work ethic or the knowledge or the understanding of a multimillionaire multimillionaire land investor. You see what I'm saying? You guys get what I'm saying, right? So what I want to talk about right now is, let's see those missed opportunities that you have because you are looking to do what other people who are more established, who have made more money, who've been doing it longer, who understand nuances, and while they're leveraging tools and VAs and things of that nature, they can still do their business very successfully without those things. A lot of us who are trying to rush to that, hey, I just want to offload off my plate, we're doing it a little too soon. And because of that, we're missing a lot of stuff. So that also, you know what? I want to add this in there too. Sorry to interrupt my schedule, my regular scheduled program, but I want to add this up. People who want to invest so they can pay off all their, you know, but they want to pay off these bills or credit card debt or whatever. They want to get started, but they need to save a little bit more money. People who are just kind of not too sure about what's going on, you know, so they're kind of hesitant, you know, those dabblers and things of that nature. I'm going to add that in there because I talked about that earlier this week in my post. So I want to add that in there. Now, granted, those statements I just mentioned, they're empty statements. Those who are trying to outsource quickly, empty statements. Those who are trying to get rich quick, no, excuse me, not get rich quick, get rich easily, empty statement. Now, you can get rich quick. If you have the skills, you have the work ethic, you can get rich quick. Don't let people fool you. The term get rich quick does have a bad connotation these days, but getting rich quick is not the issue. It's when people try to get rich easy. And I think a lot of the issues I've write about, both from I got to pay off these debts first versus I just want to have a VA handle this. They're both, in my opinion, you can agree with me or disagree with me if you don't agree. And if you don't, please say so in the comments. But in my opinion, they come from the same place. So let's jump into the meat of it. First off, when you study greatness, I want you to notice something, right? There's keys that all great people exhibit. Now, it doesn't matter if you're great at business, athletics, the arts, academics, you know, whatever it is. There's some keys that we all got to possess if we actually want to become great. There's certain sacrifices that we're going to have to make to become great. First off, know this. Every successful and great person, they left clues behind. That's how we know that people, no matter what the field is, what the industry, whatever it is, what we know that how they actually achieve what they got. It's not necessarily because they wrote a book and told us or anything like that. And it's because the clues they left are pretty easy to find. Sometimes people leave those clues on purpose. Other times it's just a byproduct of just how they do work. But in general, it's not hard to find out how people have gotten successful. On the contrary, it's pretty simple. You'll find out while, yeah, it's great to have a lot of intelligence and brains. But in my experience, in my personal experience, like the more education a person has, sometimes it's harder for them to actually become really good at land investing or anything that's going to make them rich because they've been programmed so much to believe things that happen a certain way and things like that. So it's hard for them to see how simple things really are, right? You just got to put in the right amount of work. So let's look at Steph Curry, for example, right? Now, you can pick anybody who's world class, but just I'm picking Steph Curry. I want you to think about something because we're going to talk about the clues that they exhibit. And this is going to lead to exactly the different opportunities that you could be leaving behind. So when Steph Curry steps out in the court, right, he knows who he is. He's comfortable with. He's not the biggest player. He's not the tallest. He's not the meanest. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. He's not the most athletic. Sure, he's, the best shooter the world has ever seen, but he didn't get that from necessarily just purely physical gifts, right? His work ethic is absolutely insane. This man probably works harder than anybody out there, and that's how he got the things that he's gotten. He doesn't take shortcuts. He takes a long way. And there's certain things that would be easier for certain players if they were tall, that are taller than him or stronger than him, that he can't do. So he has to figure out ways to overcome those limitations, right? So like, it boils down to this. How he does one thing is how he does everything. And that's how he's gotten to his level of mastery. It's not just on the basketball court. And the basketball court is varied. It's the way he approaches fatherhood, the way he approaches his faith, the way he approaches his being a husband. It's the way he approaches being like an investor in his own right, when he's in the Under Armour brand and the different other like investments and things of that nature that he has going for himself. This man doesn't stop, and he's still who he is. So basically what you're going to do is understand that when you embody that person or that investor or whoever it is that you want to be, a lot of the things, that work ethic or whatever that you need, becomes a lot easier. A lot of the questions that you may have about whether you should get started in land or not becomes easier. A lot of questions of, hey, when do I hire a VA? When do I, start paying monthly subscription for certain tools or not? It all becomes clear because you're embodying an investor, a vision in your mind, and you're working towards that every single day. Does that make sense? Without this vision, nothing else I'm going to talk about for the next couple of minutes is going to matter, because people without vision, they waffle, they dabble, they wander. They have no clue on where they're going or how they're going to get there. So they're trying different things. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with doing research. There's nothing wrong with trying to find your lane and so you can stick with it. But how often do we find something that we feel will work, but we continue to hold ourselves back? Put so in the comments. How often? How often do we say, hell, with land investment, hey, man, this is actually pretty good stuff. I think I can do this. I don't need a ton of money. I just need a little bit, and I could make it grow. After my first deal, I can probably just fund my business, and I don't need to have outside sourcing, right? I don't need to do Uber on the weekends. I don't need to put an overtime shift at my job. I don't need to, whatever it is to get that starting initial capital to invest in your first property. But without that fundamental understanding that I'm going to be a land investor or an internet marketer or a basketball player, or you fill in the blank, you're going nowhere. I want that to sink in for a little bit. You got to make a decision. You got to make a commitment to that vision. The vision is not necessarily what you're trying to achieve, as in, I want to have more time freedom, I want more money. That's a byproduct of becoming that investor who can actually invest properly, who does their due diligence properly, who's not afraid to take calculated risk, who is out there looking for the next investment with an investor's mindset. Most people who come into this thing, they're looking at things like, I ain't got no money, I can't get started. It's because you don't have the investor's mindset and you're not looking to develop it. It's like, I kind of want to do it, but I kind of got this debt, because you don't have the investor's mindset. You don't know what to do. You know what? This looks good, but I don't want to do the work myself. How many VAs should I hire off the bat? You don't have the investor's mindset. You haven't embodied that. You're looking for an easy way to riches. It doesn't come easy. It can come fast, but it does not come easy, right? To bring this 1 point home, let's think about people that you know in your life. I'm sure you met somebody, if maybe yourself, that's tried to go on a diet. And maybe that person or yourself has actually lost weight. Now, for most people, how long does that weight stay off? For most people, I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm not talking about like the 20%. I'm talking about the 80% of people who lose some weight and then they what? They gain it back. Why do you think that is? Put in the comments. Whether you're watching live or a replay, put in the comments. I'm going to tell you why. When people make life-changing decisions and they don't stick with them, meaning they don't embody that life-changing decision. So in this case, this person wants to be a more fit person. And well, most people just say, I want to lose weight. So there's no vision, first off, besides like, hey, as long as I'm less fat. But there's no real vision. And therefore, there's nobody they can grow into. Therefore, in their mind, even if they lost 100 pounds, if they still feel like that big person inside and they have those same habits, those same hopes, those same dreams, those same all of that, and they have that same identity of that big person, well, guess what? The mind would say, hey, you know what? I am a big person. What am I doing losing all this weight? And you start eating and you stop exercising and the weight comes back. Sometimes the weight comes back even more than where you started. Sometimes you get right back to that level that you were before you started dieting and exercising because you didn't have that vision. You didn't have that commitment to be a new person with new ideas and new thoughts and new just everything. You still have that old you inside of you. Therefore, the old you had to be consistent with what you really thought. That's how our brain works. Put that weight back on. So you guys understanding so far? You guys getting this? Is it making sense? Right? A lot of people come with this old mindset and they're wondering why they're not making any money in land, or they're wondering why everything is such a struggle, because you're trying to fight your own nature and you're not even trying to get to the root of the problem. Now, how do you fix that? Right? It's one thing to point it out, but how do you fix it? Well, change your identity. And it really is that simple. It can actually be a second change, as in like it takes a second to implement this change, right? So if you want to be an uber successful land investor, I want to ask yourself, what does that look like? Now you can write this down if you need to. What are their goals of the uber successful land investor, right? Not your punk ass goals, the uber successful land investor. Maybe that land investor that's inside of you, or maybe you envision somebody, or maybe there's other people that you follow that you like, damn, this guy, he really got his stuff together or her stuff together. And this is what they do, right? So put that in your mind. What goals do they have, right? What types of things drive that person? Is it their family? Is it their free time? Is it the money? Is it just the hunger to be better, to do more, to serve more? Figure out what that is. Next, ask yourself, what things do that person think about daily, right? Are they thinking about the latest gossip on TV? Are they thinking about what's going on in a sports arena? Are they thinking about their next investment, where the market is headed, how they can get ahead of the game, how to be more efficient at what they do? All right, think about those things that uber successful land investor is thinking. Number 4, think about, how do they approach their research? Are they casual about it, or are they serious? Are they researching so long that they get confused and forget what's going on and forget what's important? Or are they focused for 30 minutes, getting the information they're needing and ready to implement? Think about this. If they find a deal, are they ready to jump on it, or do they need to wait and see? Do they need to ask their spouse? Do they need to make a little bit more money first? Right? Doesn't matter how much that person may have early on or at the moment. That uber successful investor in mind, even if they have $0 to their name right now, are they waiting or are they jumping on it? If they don't have the cash for the deal, are they just going to sit there and like, oh, well, or are they going to find an alternative, a solution? Okay. Next one. Think about this. Does that uber successful investor that you're thinking of, that you're envisioning, do they get emotional when it comes to the decisions, or do they use data-driven systems? When I mean emotional, they go with their gut feeling if this is a good deal or not. They get too nervous to actually pull the trigger because they're still unsure no matter how much research they've done. Or do they just look at the data? Like, you know what? This, and this. Looking at that and look at my potential upside and my worst case scenario, if I don't sell it as quick as I want, you know what I'm going for? Which one do they do? Emotions? Data. Moving on. Does that investor see opportunities as a cost slash an expense, or is it an investment? Be it certain systems, time they put into themselves, going to going down self-development, like the path of self-development, with books, seminars, therapy, so on and so forth, or is it just another cost? How does that uber successful land investor approach these decisions? Right? Now, last one, when issues come up for this uber successful land investor, be it with the land, be it with the seller, be it with the buyer, be it with, hell, family life, do they give up or do they figure things out? Now, I want you guys to go through those questions again. I'm going to read them real quick again because, as you can see, I'm trying to help you paint that vision for yourself. What are that? If you think about that uber successful land investor, preferably one that you want to become, but if not one you want to become, just a person that you can look up to and you admire, that you would follow. What are their goals? Right. Second question, what types of things drives that person? Third, what things do they think about daily? Fourth, how do they approach their research? Fifth, if they find a deal, do they wait or do they jump on it? Six, do they get emotional when it comes to decision or do they use data-driven systems? 7, does that investor see opportunities as a cost or an expense or an investment? And 8, when an issue comes up, do they give up or do they figure things out? Right? And you can have a bonus one if a deal requires more capital than they have or they're willing to invest. What does that investor do? Do they let the deal go or do they find solutions? Now, let me know when you're done. Let me know when you're done. If you're watching this as a replay, go ahead and pause this video now. Write these questions down. Write the answer to this. If you're serious about land investing, it'll take you, 10, 20 minutes. You can't take time 10 or 20 minutes to yourself to figure out what the hell you really want. Land investing or just wealth in general is just not for you. Because the questions I've asked, they're not specific to land investing. Sure, I kind of gave my land investing twist just so they make sense to you. But you can replace that with anything. Replace that with an NBA player. Replace that with a PhD candidate. Replace that with some other business, like this business model, an inventor, or whatever it is. Replace it. Same questions. It's going to lead you to something that you can actually aspire to, something that's probably already within you that you don't realize. All right, now moving on. Now let's ask yourself this. After thinking about what that uber successful investor would do, whether it's the future you or just someone you look up to, ask yourself the real reason that you have not pulled the trigger yet. And be honest. This ain't the time to lie to yourself. You don't have the time to actually wait. The average life expectancy is about 76 to 70 to 80 years old. Most people are trying to get wealth the slow way. In fact, most people aren't even trying to get wealth. They're hoping it just happens to them. But for those of us that are a little bit more, careful with our money, we're told to get a job, maybe a high-paying job, get a ton of student loan debt to get that high-paying job. Once we get the job, save a tiny amount of our expenses or our income and invest it in the stock market for 8% returns year over year. Max out your 401k, right? Stop me if you heard this before. Right? And then you're wondering, great, in 40 fucking years, I can retire with a couple million, which won't be worth as much by the time you're able to retire. All because you took your time to actually pull the trigger on something like land investing. So ask yourself, why am I waiting? Why am I hesitating? Be honest. Yeah, you may say you ain't got no money. You may say you got to do some other thing first. But with the questions you just asked yourself, does that still hold up? With that new identity that you can start to form with those questions you asked yourself, does those excuses still hold up? Would that investor, that uber successful investor, answer the questions the same way you answered them? Be honest. The sooner you can be honest with yourself, the faster you can get past this. Even if you already are investing, are you investing at the point where you're like, I'm killing it? Or you're making a couple deals here and there? Now, it's one thing to be on your way to build up towards that. And you know if you're on your way or not. But it's another thing to be content with just doing a couple deals a year. So ask yourself, what's stopping you from pulling the trigger? The trigger could be your first in property. It could be actually getting this more expensive property. It could be actually doing more volume. It could be partner up with somebody so you can do more than you're able to do on your own. Ask yourself and be honest. And think about what that uber successful investor would say to you, or you would say to yourself, your past self or whatever, if you gave them the bullshit that you're giving yourself right now. Now, not to be on my holy pulpit and sermon you guys, but I just went through this again recently. When I was vacationing in Puerto Rico and Cancun and going to Disneyland and all these other things, sure, I was doing my thing, but I was not leveling up. I even slowed down a bit because I don't know if I can handle all the flow. And instead of I don't know if I can handle it, actually figure out, okay, what can I and what can I not handle? Okay, great. I can see this is my limit. How do I surpass that? I just let the limit be. And because of that, my September is much slower because my August wasn't productive. Sure, things are going to pick up again because I recognize my mistake, but why should I have to go through that mistake? I got goals, I got bills, I got all these things that I have to take care of, and I was not being my best self. That uber successful land investor that I have envisioned in my mind, I stopped listening to that person. I stopped embodying that person, and my results started to suffer. So what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? Because I have a lot of credit card debt when I wasn't doing this stuff. Now, if I waited until I paid off all my credit card debt, I'd probably be paying this off till I was 100 years old. I didn't have a plan. I'm just going to pay it off with no type of conviction or urgency. Because I wasn't listening to my higher self, that all-star within me. I listened to that bench warmer. So again, what is it for you? What are you doing this for? Why are you here? Why do you want to invest in land? Right? It could be a financial goal, right? You may even have a legit plan, but are you putting that legit plan into practice every day? Or is it something that looks nice on your wall and you look at, but you do nothing every day because you're too tired or you don't have the time or something else came up, right? Now, if your legit plan is I'm just going to work more hours, you're fucking high on crack, right? It's going to be too tough to make it happen. You got to put that investor mindset in there. Let it marinate, right? So if you don't have a small amount of money, I don't want no excuse. Find an area that supports the amount you can invest. If you have a large amount of money, look to actually play big instead of playing like a little wimp. If you don't know what to do, I know you've been watching these videos. You've been watching other people's videos. I know you've listened to podcasts. I know you're in other groups. You know what to do. And if you're still unsure, you know where you can come to get coaching. Hello? Hi? You're serious about this? Come holler at me. If you don't want to talk to me, there's other people that teach this stuff as well. So the question is, what are you going to do? Right? Put that investor hat on. Spend some time finding people who are delinquent on taxes right now. If you have no money, contact them, get their property. I got a guy in my group right now. He bought 3 properties, all for under $100 because they owe back taxes. He's hoping to sell these properties for about 10 to 15,000. Right? Bought it for $75. He didn't have a lot of money. He did certain things by hand. But because of that, he put himself out there. He figured out the way to pay for my coaching. He's in my group, so he's getting not just my tutelage, but the support and the help of the group. The property that he's paid $75 for, he's about to walk away from until, we're like, no, you shouldn't do that. Fucking get those properties. Now he's looking to sell for 10,000. I might have to sell for 8, but he's in it for $75. The point is, there's always a way. But what are you doing to make sure that you find that way? What are you doing to honor that high-level, super successful land investor that you look up to or that you want to be? For most of us, it's nothing. And we wonder why nothing's changing. And every day, we get a day older, closer and closer to putting that foot in the grave. closer and closer to ending our life and having nothing to pass on to our kids, nothing to be remembered by, so we can work a job for somebody else who will fire you at the drop of a hat when they feel like it. So listen, I'm gonna leave you with one last thing. If you really want to make this true, please just make the schedule for yourself, a daily routine to really become that investor, so you don't have to think about it. It just starts to happen automatically, right? It becomes habit, right? Treat every game the same regardless of stake. So basically, every investment, every deal, whether it's a tiny deal or a big one, treat them the same. Give it the same amount of due diligence, research, care, attention that it would need to make sure that you're going to be profitable and ASAP. Make sure you're getting good night's sleep every night, so you're not getting up super tired, needing a bunch of caffeine and other things that keep you going. Because being tired is a very big excuse of why people don't get shit done, right? Eat right and hydrate yourself leading up to, just basically every day. Just so when you're out there, you're investing, you got to burn a midnight oil because you had a day job and you didn't have the time to do it in a day. You're prepared for that because you gave it the fuel it needed to do this extra work, even if the extra work's only 30 minutes. Study the area, study the skills, understand what you need, and then practice breathing, be in a moment. So now it's time for you to actually get going. Somebody asked me, so I'm a thing, how much is my coaching? Book a call with me. I'll discuss because there's different packages. But yeah, it's not a course. Everybody has a course. You can buy a course. You can probably get a cheap course for like $500. What I offer is very different than just a course. Sure, there is a curriculum to learn the basics, but most of the learning happens in the group setting. Most of the learning happens directly from me. Most of the learning happens on the field as you're making moves and becoming an investor. So yeah, it's not just a course. So let that be known. But other than that, anybody got anything else? Any questions? Let me check the group real quick. I think we're good. All right. I'll get off my soapbox now. But yeah, it's your boy, Coach Vic. Glad to be here with you. Hopefully that helped you understand a little bit of my world, as in how I see things when I'm falling off the wagon versus when I'm holding strong. And if you understand how important this mindset is and how to develop it is crucial to your success, then you're going to be fine. If it's still like, I don't know, maybe, or you kind of agree in spirit, but you haven't done anything, you haven't even answered those damn questions, I don't know what to tell you. But that's it for me. As always, if you have questions, ask in the comments. I'll always reply. But yeah, glad to be here with you. Coach Vic signing out. Peace out.